NFL season is about to start. Every team and player has expectations. Who has the most? We're going to talk about that and more, but first, to get into it. William Shakespeare once said, "Expectation is the root of all heartbreak." Nobody knows this better than a sports fan who had the nerve to believe in their favorite team or player. Expectations are almost always at their highest right before the season starts because you have virtually zero evidence to dispute all of your wildest dreams that you've been cooking up in the offseason. We are obviously right at that point as NFL season is set to begin on Thursday, which means your team is undefeated. Your favorite player has yet to let you down. You are still in the Super Bowl hunt. Your expectations still feel realistic, but they aren't. And that's okay. The season will reveal which ones were silly or not. That's not our job. What we're here to do is document where those expectations stand currently. And that's exactly what we're going to do, starting with who has the highest expectations heading into the season. Starting with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, who have put together careers that have far exceeded what was expected of them initially. There was a lot of talk about how Lamar should switch to receiver if he wanted to make it in the NFL. And who could forget everybody's favorite analyst, Mina Kimes' shriek of horror after the Bills selected Allen 7th overall in 2018. That pretty much summed up the feeling many had about the pick. But look at them now. Two of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the league who put up video game numbers on the ground and through the air. Allen narrowly beat out Jackson last year to take home his first MVP award. Lamar already has 2 MVP awards of his own. He threw 41 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions last year. Not bad for a wide receiver. Now, with all they've accomplished, these guys should be set for life expectation-wise, but the funny thing about expectations is the more you exceed them, the greater they get. And for that reason, they have the highest expectations heading into the season. One of my favorite contradictions, I guess you'd call it, in sports is the Super Bowl quarterback phenomenon. Again, nobody puts up better stats than these two guys, and for the most part, we all agree that wins are not a quarterback stat because so much goes into winning a football game. But if a quarterback's stats reach a certain level of spectacular, then we start judging them based on whether or not they've managed to win the ultimate game in the sport, the Super Bowl. It's not logical, but sports and expectations rarely are. If we are looking for separation between the two in terms of expectations heading into the season, Lamar is going to have more. First of all, he's a black quarterback. By and large, black quarterbacks are still going to be judged more harshly. When Brock Purdy stinks, you never hear people say that he needs to switch to punter. On top of that, Lamar has not had the playoff success that Josh has had. Josh earned a second AFC Championship game appearance by beating Lamar and the Ravens in last year's divisional round by 2 points. Lamar has made it to the AFC Championship game just once. Allen has also been considerably better in the playoffs statistically, throwing for just over 258 yards per game with 25 touchdowns to just 5 picks in 13 playoff games. He's run for another 7 touchdowns, averaging just over 50 yards on the ground per game. Compare that to Lamar, who has thrown for just 10 touchdowns in 8 playoff games. He's also thrown for 7 interceptions. He does average 80 yards on the ground, but has run for just 3 touchdowns, so he hasn't really come close to making up the passing gap that Josh has created. Now, I know what you're thinking. I just said the better you are, the higher expectations are. So how does Lamar have higher expectations than Josh when Josh has been better in the postseason? Well, that only works up to a point, and Josh's performances have bought him some goodwill, which lowers those expectations slightly. People are more likely to look at how he's performed as an individual and place the blame on another factor. Oh, it was the defense's fault, or they keep running into the Chiefs dynasty, that kind of thing. Again, expectations do not operate in a logical manner. Now, we have a couple of different classifications of expectations to discuss today, but the only team that is featured on what is essentially this Super Bowl or bust tier is the Detroit Lions. They're very similar to Jackson and Allen in that they got here by wildly exceeding expectations. Historically, the Lions have been so bad as a franchise that they've caused not one, but 2 of the greatest players ever to retire early instead of continuing to play for them. Legendary running back Barry Sanders was 30 years old. He was a season removed from rushing for over 2,000 yards. If he duplicated the performance of what ended up being his last season, he would have passed Walter Payton as the NFL's all-time leading rusher. Instead, he left. Receiver Calvin Johnson was also 30. The single-season record holder for most receiving yards in a season looked well on his way to being second all-time in career receiving yards behind Jerry Rice. Instead, he left as well. In 2008, they were the first NFL team to go winless over the course of a 16-game NFL season. They were a Jay Leno punchline for much of my life. Then Dan Campbell came along, a former tight end whose final season came as a player on those 0-16 Detroit Lions. Campbell's first head coaching job came with the Dolphins in 2015 after taking over for Joe Philbin, who was fired. His press conferences were what you would expect from a retired backup blocking tight end, full of rah-rah enthusiasm and old-school football toughness. When he got the job here in Detroit in 2021, the expectations for both him and the team were more of the same, and on the surface, the Lions' 3-13-1 record was what we'd all come to expect from them. But if you looked a little closer, things were starting to change. 5 of those losses were by 4 points or less, much better than the 7 losses by at least 2 touchdowns from the previous season. They kept improving each year as they put together one of the most dynamic offenses in the league. Then finally, last year, they added a top 10 defense to go along with the number 1 scoring offense, en route to a franchise best 15 wins. Unfortunately, the regular season success has not been enough to keep the traditional Lions' bad luck at bay during the postseason. They did end the longest winless postseason drought in the NFL in 2023 and appeared headed to an apocalypse signaling Super Bowl appearance after going up 24-7 in the NFC Championship game before allowing the 49ers to score 27 unanswered points. Then last season, rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels and the Commanders cooked them for 45 points in an embarrassing home loss in the divisional round. The 2023 NFC Championship collapse was a bit more palatable since at least it came at the end of a Cinderella-ish run. What happened last year was an embarrassment, plain and simple. It reminded me a lot of the 2006 Chargers. That team was also first in scoring offense, 7th in scoring defense, and lost just 2 regular season games before falling on their face in the divisional round. The only consolation for them was that loss came at the hands of the Patriots dynasty. But we don't really remember teams like that unless it's in one of my super interesting nostalgic TikToks or on someone's biggest chokers list. When was the last time anybody talked glowingly about then Chargers coach Marty Schottenheimer? Campbell and the Lions have to break through this season. Even if their regular season isn't quite as impressive, they have to at least make it to the Super Bowl, which sounds ridiculous. But if they don't, Campbell is going to be on the hot seat. Remember, Marty Schottenheimer was fired after that 2006 collapse. Now, having high expectations doesn't always mean that you're proving that you're the best of the best. Sometimes it's about proving that what you already did was real. I just talked about Jaden Daniels' effect on the Lions' expectations. His performance in that game and in his rookie season in general has set him up for a year of prove-it expectations. Now, pretty much every quarterback who starts as a rookie has high expectations. Multiply that by being the Heisman winner and 2nd overall draft pick. That's what Daniels had to contend with, and he still managed to overachieve. Over 3,500 yards through the air with 25 touchdowns to just 9 interceptions, nearly 900 yards on the ground, which was a rookie record with 6 more touchdowns there. The Commanders went from a 4-13 team the year before to 12-5 last season on the way to their first conference championship game appearance since 1991, nearly a decade before Jaden was born. While there were a lot of factors that went into that, Daniels' play was the most obvious one. However, we've seen this before. Look no further than 2023. CJ Stroud came in and lit it up for the Texans as the 2nd overall pick himself, leading an improbable turnaround under a new coach, including a surprising playoff win where they put up 45 points. So naturally, last season, everyone expected Stroud to take his play to even higher levels. Instead, he came back down to earth a bit. Some of it was injuries to his wide receivers. Some of it was just him not looking quite as sharp as consistently as he had the year before. I'm sure teams having a full season of film on him helped them game plan against him, so that made it tough. Houston equaled their win total and again won their wild card game, but overall, meh. Or let's just keep it all in the Washington franchise and look back to their 2012 team. Before RG3 was Uncle Ruckus. He was also a former Heisman winner who went number 2 overall in the NFL draft. and he had an amazing rookie campaign as a dual threat quarterback. His downfall was injury related and also being a cornball, but Washington's fans are surely traumatized by that, and I'm not sure if the team has set up Daniels for sophomore success. His number one receiver last year, Terry McLaurin, sat out most of training camp in a contract dispute. They just traded last year's number one running back, Brian Robinson Jr., as a result of his own contract dispute. As great as Daniels is, he can't make something out of nothing, but it would appear that's what's going to be expected of him. And again, as we've learned, expectations are rarely fair. Despite having less to work with, Daniels will have to at least maintain his performance from last season, if not exceed it. Good luck to him. He is going to need it. Daniels' offensive coordinator is Cliff Kingsbury. He was one of those young offensive masterminds hired as a head coach after everyone was trying to find their own version of Sean McVay. Kingsbury's stint as the head guy for the Cardinals started off promising before he ultimately flamed out. The current head coach who fits this bill is the Dolphins' Mike McDaniel. His Miami tenure began with a couple of seasons as the fun offensive team to watch. McDaniel became a media favorite as a result of that and also his quirkiness. However, last season, all of that offensive magic disappeared. On one hand, it's tough when your starting quarterback is a guy who is limited and constantly missing time due to some of the scariest head injuries we've ever seen. On the other hand, this is not a new development, and you could have figured out a backup plan by now. You probably should have. And it would also appear opposing teams are figuring you out. McDaniel is going to have to take a step forward in a big way this year, regardless of whether Tua is conscious or not, or his seat is going to be hotter than the visitor sideline in a September 1 o'clock game. If he flops, he could be forced to work his way back up just like Kingsbury is currently doing. He's the only active head coach who has been around this long, who has this much talent at his disposal, who has experienced this much regular season success with no real postseason success to show for it. On the flip side of that, where McDaniel's expectations are the result of him looking good at one point, but now we're all wondering if that was actually real, we have Giants head coach Brian Daboll, who has gotten progressively worse with each passing season without ever really looking that great. I don't know if I'd call these expectations as much as I'd call them requirements, but Daboll has to make the postseason this year to save his job. Now, he did manage to pull that off in his first season as they won 9 games and a wild card game somehow, which is more than McDaniel can say. But they didn't exactly look competent on the way to doing that, and it's all been downhill in the 2 seasons since, including a pathetic 3-win season last year. A big part of this is a front office that let Saquon Barkley walk to a division rival who promptly won a Super Bowl and hung on to Daniel Jones at quarterback way too long. But I imagine they'll all go if things go poorly again. Based on a pretty good preseason, for whatever that's worth, they may have their quarterback of the future in Jackson Dart. However, it appears veteran Russell Wilson will be the starter early on. I'm not sure if that's a great sign for Daboll. After winning at least 9 games every year, including a Super Bowl in his first 9 seasons with the Seahawks, Wilson has yet to play a full season or win more than 7 games as a starter since. Now again, wins are not a quarterback stat. There's more that goes into it. However, with each passing season, it becomes more and more apparent that Wilson's days of contributing to wins are probably over. He flamed out in Seattle, Denver, and last season in Pittsburgh. I cannot imagine him having a resurgence here. And if he doesn't, he might take down Daboll with him. The 8th member of our high expectations list is none other than current Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback number 8 himself, Aaron Rodgers. Now look, we all know this guy stinks both on and off the field. He's insufferable. He's washed. I hate him. Nobody expects him to be good but himself. But he's the one who keeps saying that. So we should just hold him to his own delusional standard. Now, Rodgers is in a perfect situation for a terrible quarterback in Pittsburgh because Mike Tomlin thrives on winning games by scoring the fewest points possible. If he could somehow figure out a way to take points away from the other team and win a game scoring 0 points, he would do it in a heartbeat. So the bar for Rodgers' play is as low as it could possibly be. Just don't turn the ball over and get them into field goal range without alienating your teammates, and you can make the postseason. That's all he has to do. But for Rodgers, that's expecting even more than expecting a healthy, talented, in his prime, non-attention-seeking, conspiracy theorist quarterback to win the Super Bowl. It goes against every fiber of his being. Even last year, when his numbers were good sometimes, he turned into a bad quarterback at the worst moments. It was great. One more season of that, and he might fade away into the Joe Rogan universe, never to be heard from again. We are so close, and the expectations are just high enough that it could happen. And we do have a late addition to the list. He probably should have been on it originally. Reminds me of Rodgers in his attention seeking, probably exceeds Rodgers somehow, in Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. Fun fact about me, I started out as a Dallas Cowboys fan because I was a child when they were good. And when you're a child, you pick teams based on who's the best. Now look at me. Do I look close to being a child anymore? I just told you I have a child of my own. The last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl was 30 years ago. So Jerry's expectations are not related to winning a Super Bowl. Everyone in their right mind who is not a Cowboys fan, because I don't know how you could be a Cowboys fan in your right mind, has given up on the Cowboys winning a Super Bowl, which makes it even stranger that Jerry, instead of paying his best player in Micah Parsons, would then trade him to the Green Bay Packers for pretty much not a whole lot. So like Aaron Rodgers, Jerry's expectations are actually the ones that he's placed on himself and aren't actually football related. See, Jerry does expect to win a Super Bowl again, but Jerry also is a million years old. He seems to have placed the ultimate expectation on himself of living forever. The way he makes these moves and handles this roster, it would appear he thinks he's got another 30 years left to turn this around and win another Super Bowl. But how is that even possible? It's not. He's going to die. So I don't know what he's thinking. Unless, and this might be possible just based on how he's looked the past couple of years, he is indeed a giant tortoise. This is impossible. He's not going to make it. He has set himself up for the ultimate failure, which is kind of a fitting end. Speaking of a fitting end, that's it for the episode. But as promised, some quick housekeeping. Number one, the Gamecock Football Captain's Log is now a part of a larger, nationally focused college football show with PD that drops every Wednesday. Unlike the Captain's Log, I'm releasing it on the audio feed in addition to YouTube. Let me know what you think. It's currently called the Nameless College Football Show because I'm too sleep deprived to be creative. Also, Tuesday, be on the lookout for my debut on Since We Last Spoke. That is one of Danny Foxworth's many incredible podcasts. I've been on his At the Plate with Danny Foxworth a couple of times now. That's always fun. This one was a blast. Got to talk a little bit about my upbringing, fatherhood, TikTok, all kind of stuff. Check that out. If you're not subscribed to Danny's stuff, what are you doing? Please. Also, in that episode, I do break some news. So, in case you needed any more reason, please tune in. And finally, I'd like to say that we're back on our regular Sunday release schedule, but I'm hesitant because having a newborn is incredible, but also a lesson in not having full control of your time. But I do promise to release episodes as frequently as possible. We'll also get back into some live stream stuff as well. I've dipped my toe into it before, but I want to explore it even further. If you missed me bad enough, make sure you are subscribed to my blog, The Show Notes. The link is below. The crown jewel of that at the moment is my weekly sports watch guide screenshots, which drops every Thursday morning. All of this is free. I'm looking forward to doing some more writing on there as well. That will do it for now. Thank you so much for your support.